Are you ready to join me in transforming fear to freedom? That's the objective of the show. Are you ready to explore with me and my guests? Are you ready to get into the deep and play? This is where it's at, and that's what it's all about. No medical advice here. Use discernment and decide for yourself if the information is right for you. All views and opinions expressed on this show belong to the individual and are not necessarily shared with the producer of the show. Want more details? Go to letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com. Now let's get real and have some fun. Who are we going to explore with today? Come on with me and let's get into the deep. Welcome back. Hello. I'm Catherine Whalen-Costin, host and producer of Let's Get Real, Chatting with Catherine, and we're going to get really real today with my guest, Shelly Dressel. And she is a woman who channels higher light beings and brings that information to us to help us to adjust to life on planet Earth and the different changes that are going on, to help us to understand what's happening to our bodies, what's happening to the Earth. And, oh my, I had glasses on. So I really... we thought, Shelly and I discussed this a little bit before we did the show, was to really bring forward some information that might help people who are just beginning to wake up to, not like wake up, but to be aware of a lot of changes happening on the planet. Earth changes, political changes, social changes, physical changes, what's happening to our food, we're starting to become aware, and we don't know what to do with this sometimes. We wake up and it's like, and that's how it feels. It actually feels sometimes like where was I? How come this stuff's been going on and I didn't notice? What's happening to our food? Why are they doing the things they're doing? And noticing the different roles we've been playing in the family and the energy that's been affecting us. And so what happens is sometimes you feel like it's crazy. There's something going on and it's out of your hands and you have nothing, you can't do anything, or you don't understand maybe symptoms in the body. And so we talked about some of that today, ascension symptoms or awakening symptoms or the changes on the planet. And Shelly's a great teacher. She's just awesome, so gentle in her energy and the way she explains things, because she's so grounded herself, and she worked very hard to teach herself how to connect with her divinity, with the goddess of creation is an entity that came through her not very many years ago, and because it wasn't possible before, and we've talked about that before in previous chats. So you can go back and listen to all the chats we've had. They're free, on demand, right from the show page on letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com, or the short form lgrcc.com. And if you go to the show listing page, you'll find all the shows, videos, and so forth. The links are there. You can subscribe to it on iTunes, and you can subscribe to the video channel on YouTube, of course. And then, of course, there's all the social media that you can connect with me and interact that way. Sign up for the RSS feed so you get updates from the website whenever news is posted. So Shelly has a profile page right on the website under the guest link, which is also on the top navigation bar. Any of my guests who've chosen to have a promo page there, you'll find information about them, what they do, links to their website and such. And it's a great way to introduce yourself to people. And I love that I'm able to provide that for my guests, for those who choose it. And then, of course, you can advertise on the show too. That's another thing that I wanted to mention. I didn't used to allow that, but now I've started to understand that in order for me to do the work the way I'm doing it, and with as many guests and the variety of guests, I've got a lot more research and a lot more time to devote to it, and of course all the systems. So I need to be able to somehow have a return on my investment so that I can continue and invest back into this show, which I think is making a difference. I feel like it is reaching a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't be introduced to these particular people and the information. So I love what I do, and I love that you are listening, you are watching, sharing with your friends, and I would also love to hear your feedback. Let me know what, I know there's a lot of people listening, but I'm not getting a lot of people commenting or sending information to me to let me know what they like, what they don't like, if there's guests that they would love to hear from, or topics you'd like me to cover. Because the format of Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine is a lot different than many other shows in that we do more of I never use a script. And I know some of my guests are a little intimidated at first by that, but really it's about exploring, really engaging, really asking questions that are going to matter, not about, I'm totally open to if people are selling products, their books, they've got something that they want to share. Of course, it makes sense for us to invest in those people. But the real story is usually the relationship, and that's what I like to create, is a relationship between myself, my guest, and you, the listener or the watcher, the audience, and so that we get to know each other and transform fear, which is, that's the premise of the show. But I also always recommend, you must do your own discernment. You must listen or watch and understand that you are the only person who can decide for yourself what's right for you. And I never ever tell people to take it as gospel or medical advice or anything like that. No, if you have a medical regime or you're working with a physician and so forth, consult them, talk to them. This is not advice. It is to entertain and to learn, and I hope that that's what it's doing. It feels like that's what it's doing, and the feedback I am getting, especially from guests who've been on the show, they love it, and I hope you are loving it as an audience as well. And that's why I'd love to hear it. If you're watching the YouTube video, there's a place for comments at the bottom. Please go right ahead and comment, or go to my Facebook page, and the link is from the website. Is on the website, and you can post comments on the show fan page on Facebook as well, or there's many places right on the website that you can comment. And so let's get at this. Let's talk to Shelly Dressel and find out all about what's really going on. What can we expect as we go through these awakening ascension processes? And stay tuned. Let's go.
All right, my absolute pleasure to be sitting down for a nice chat once again with Shelly Dressel, and we are going to be talking about today something that we both kind of had a sense that there's some shifts on the planet, there's some people at different stages of becoming aware of the work, that the energy work and the different dimensions and all these kinds of things and what's happening, and we just thought it would be fun to kind of talk about some of the things that can happen on your road to exploring, and as you start to, like, some people call it your ascension path or your awakening path or whatever. I don't want to say that some people are more awake than others and whatever. It's just when you start exploring, you will notice different things happening in your awareness, in your body and whatever. And Shelly is the perfect person to help us with that. Not only because she can share with us today, but you also have great tools, Shelly, that can help people on these when they're kind of wondering and you feel kind of alone. So welcome back, Shelly. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Catherine. I love joining you. And I always feel like I need to reach out and embrace you, because when we get together for these chats, it just feels like two friends getting together again. I was really glad, because we have a tendency to do these video chats maybe every 2 or 3 months or so. And when you brought it up again, or I brought it up, I forget which one, and I said, what are we going to talk about? And at that point, I really didn't have any idea. But this month, we're doing it, as you said, in February. And so we started off with February, Valentine's Day, talking about love and relationships and stuff. And then that kind of took me the next step down. And to me, every relationship and the foundation of love has to come first and foremost from inside of you. And so when we began to look at that, then I said, well, maybe, and that's how my mind works. I start with one thing, and then I take a step here, then a step here, and it takes me here. And before you know it, I've gone all around the circle and come back again.
Which is perfect. And I mean, that is the thing. Relationship, love of self is the first. And it's the one that for a lot of us, we've been kind of trained away from that. Like, do for everyone else. And if there's anything left, then do for yourself. And especially women, unfortunately, mothers and wives and just our roles in the family. It's like we've been trained to think that our needs don't matter. And I mean, a lot of people know it now. It's like, if you don't take care of yourself, you have nothing to give. If you don't fill up your own cup, you got nothing to give. So I think it's appropriate. I call it Valentine's Month because that one day alone can be such a roller coaster of emotions. And it's like, okay, let's focus on loving self, and then the other things will fall into place.
That's exactly right. And for those of you who might be looking at this for the very first time and don't know me, I will just share with you that my beginning on this whole pathway came from a change in my life status. I was getting divorced. I moved cross country. Some major changes in my life. And then when everything settled down and I began to think, okay, now who's here? Now what's this? And I'm still the one here. I'm still the one inside of myself. And that doesn't take anything away from my daughter, my family, my other, the other things going on in my life. But I think that's what we all need to realize, is that you can change multitude of different things in your life. You can go places, you can change jobs, have family, do whatever. And you are always the common denominator in whatever that may be. So that's why the more that you know yourself, then the more that you are comfortable in your skin, the more that you understand your own way of being in this life, then the more that you can just be effective in whatever it is that you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. I like that a lot, because that's the truth. You're always stuck with you. So it's better to you have to have that realization that, taking care of yourself and being in good company, so that you don't feel like you're stuck with you, but instead that you actually enjoy your own company. So I thought it would be great if we can start with some of the things for a person who's, just getting to know Shelly through this video. I want to just remind you, if you want to go further in your exploring after this, then go and check out the other videos that we've done we've done them on the equinox and the different changes and things going on the planet. There's lots of videos there of us chatting about different things, and it's never just that one topic, because we, as Shelly says, we go around and around, which is quite delicious. Actually, I like it that way. It's easier to learn that way by having different things explored.
Well, and I think one of the things I always appreciate with you, Catherine, whenever we get together for this, is the fact that it can be an easy flow. It's not that we have our script and we each are reading a script. It's that we are in everyday conversation like you have with everybody around you. And the more that we keep this on a casual, laid-back basis, then the more that people can identify. That's my perception of it. And that when people look at it, then they'll say, oh yeah, that makes sense to me now, or that's what I'm looking for. And I think that's important.
Yes, and also to know that, because this happens to me all the time, and I'm sure it probably happens to you, Shelly. You listen to something or you read something and you think, this doesn't make any sense to me. It's not, I'm just not for me. And you put it away. And then a few months or even a year later, you go back and you go, I don't know why this didn't make sense to me, because it makes perfect sense to me now. And this happened to me the other night with a book. I had this book sitting on my coffee table, which I've probably had for years, but I kept moving it around, but I wasn't reading it. And something happened, and I was actually really busy, but I walked by the book and I went, it was under another book, and I looked at it and I thought, I just, right then, I sat down and I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. And I thought, why didn't I read this before? Because I wasn't ready for it. So if you're watching this and you're hearing some things that you think, no, or, that's fine. It doesn't mean, if you don't understand something we're talking about, especially, that's where I say, It's just because you're not ready for it yet. There's nothing that we're talking about that's so complicated or so, Have you got company?
No, a limb just fell down outside my window.
Oh.
But I don't think it hit the house. It just went flying past the window.
Because you're having an ice. Shelly's in Atlanta and they're having ice storm.
Yeah, we're having an ice storm. So I don't know if you'll end up keeping that or not. But anyway, I'm so sorry to get distracted. But I was looking out and I saw this big thing go past my window and thunk. And I thought, was that a bird that fell down or what? And then I realized, it was a limb from the tree. But I don't think it hit my house.
Ooh, that's... Well, it happens, Shelly. Life happens. Right in the middle of your plan.
And this is a great opportunity to say, first of all, I work with the angels a lot, and as everyone knows, and I've had them around me a long, long time. And so, especially when we're in a unique situation like this, like an ice storm, a snowstorm, some of the bad tornadoes, different things like that may be going on, I always use them or invite them to come in and protect my house, and then I'll go, well, and anyone in my family, well, and everyone in the neighborhood.
Everyone in the world. I know, it's so funny.
Forever. And I don't do that as a means of controlling anything, but I just say if it's not necessary for them to have some important lesson from a limb falling on their house, then let it fall beside them. Yeah. And so I kind of feel like that was what they were doing, and they created that whole scenario for me to be able to bring it up and to say, oh, look what just happened. And that I noticed it, and that it's like it slid right beside my house, not on top of it.
I like, though, the way that you said that. It's not about, because some people say that, well, you're praying for, protection for you, so what happens? The storm goes to someone else. Well, I think you made a really good point. If it doesn't need to happen for their highest good, if they don't need that lesson, but Mother Nature still has to do what she has to do. So it can still happen, but it doesn't. If those people don't need that experience, then let it pass them by. I think that's a wonderful way to. And then you let go. You just don't try to control it. You trust, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think that a lot of what happens when people talk about this energy and they talk about the intention and they talk about focus, people oftentimes will go down that pathway of, I am creating my life. Everything happens for a reason, which I 100% believe. Mm-hmm. And so then the next thing that comes along with that is, well, I've lost my job. I've lost my house. I'm destitute. I have all these problems. I must be doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. And so people might interpret some of the things happening to them as something that's quite negative or something that is not in their best interest. When the truth of the matter is that so many times it's those times that we've been our saddest, or those times that we've been at our lowest point, that we really begin to look around and say, well, what can I change? What do I need to do? Because now's the time to do it. I don't have anything, so now's the time to do it. And I think that's what when people talk about creating your life, it's about embracing the things that you don't like so much, as well as embracing the things that you love so much. Because everybody does have that balance. Everybody does have things about themselves or things about their lives that they're not as happy about.
Right.
And then everybody has those things that are easier to like. And you get the people that get into the drama, and they're like the dark side of you or the light side of you. And again, we're not I don't really like that, and I really try to stay away from that. Other than the fact that it's true. We all have things about ourselves that we like better than other parts that we don't like as well. And so honoring and respecting and knowing that we are creating our lives, and we are creating ourselves, and we are creating our experiences. And some of those will go smoothly and easily and perfectly. Others will not. And so you don't then judge what's not going well. Instead, it's an opportunity to embrace and say, okay, got it. Something big happened here. May not know exactly every detail, but okay. And that will at least shift your energy in such a way that then you begin to notice that there are things coming your way. And because when someone is in a kind of a focus mode, or they're kind of in that what is that called? Tunnel vision, where you're not really seeing other opportunities around you, then you need something to get you out of that point so that you can then begin to see what's there. And like, say, for example, when we do readings with people, I'll work with people and they've been so focused on stuff, they don't see it. But as the angels looking from the bigger perspective, we can sometimes clear out the energy and help them to see potentials that are there and have always been there, but they didn't see it because they weren't in that right vibration or dimension or reality.
Yeah, and have too much clutter. You know, there's clutter in your physical clutter, but there's clutter in your mind, and there's all that clutter. So let's kind of talk about, I mean, and I should also mention this, although I'm sure many people will already know this, but because Shelly's, you can read her profile, but Shelly channels. So she channels energy that is, we won't get into all the details because we've done that many times, but just to let you know that sometimes when Shelly's talking, the other light beings will come into the room or whatever, share stuff with her. So she might say, they're saying this, or she might just start talking and say, we think this. And when she says we know that's not Shelly. That's not, but I just wanted to say that in case, because I know where I can feel the energy around, and I just feel like, oh yeah, okay, just to let people know. So if you're really interested in what Shelly's channeling and all that is about, you can go to and read her profile on lgrcc.com. And we also did a show in the the first show we did was to talk about what your experience of channeling was. So in case people are just looking into, what is that? What does it mean? But I just wanted to, so let's say somebody is starting to look into, they've just found out what's Reiki, or they just found out, or they're just wondering, what about these angels, and do they help us, and what's happening to my body? I'm kind of noticing I'm more agitated, or I'm more aware. I can notice things like their intuition has seemed to kick in, or what kinds of symptoms? Let's talk about the symptoms that people can expect once they start consciously being aware of this process, because it's happening anyway. It's just the conscious awareness, right?
And so just to kind of give a foundation, everyone has talked about 3D reality, third dimensional reality. And about, what did you say, about 14, 15 months ago, the earth itself, we're talking the physical earth and the consciousness of the earth expanded and rose into what we call the fifth dimension. And that may not seem any different to anybody, but basically what it is, it's almost like a shift in consciousness to where people's realities, instead of being in something constricted, is now something more expansive. And this has happened, and it's a truth, it's a reality, whether you believe in it or not, it is a foundation. Okay. So I always like to begin with something like that. So when this happens on such a global level as it has with the earth, there are so many different varieties and different diversities and different things that have been taking place that are affecting people, that a lot of people are now just kind of finding that things are coming to their awareness. And so that's what Catherine was bringing up here. So I wanted to say this is one of the reasons why so many people are beginning to question and ask about things.
Yeah.
And so as we as humans have 4 or 5 energy bodies. We're here, this physical person, our bones, our muscles, our structure. We're a physical person. That's one body. We also have our thoughts, our beliefs, our mental. And it's like that's a non-physical energy body around us. That's our thoughts, our mental body. We then have our emotions, how we feel about everything. And the emotional body, again, non-physical, and it surrounds us, but it's a part of us. And then our spiritual body is that God source energy. And this is what every single person upon the planet has, whether they have been aware of it or unaware of it. And it is, again, just kind of one of those foundations. So what has changed and what is much more available to people is what we call light body energy. And that's like the crystalline vibration, which goes with the 5th and 6th and 7th dimensions. So I really didn't want to get too technical into that, and I'm finding myself doing that anyway, but I just would like to use this as an introduction for people so that when they begin to become aware of what they're noticing or what they're paying attention to, is it something that keeps coming through in their mind. Is it something that they keep feeling in their emotions? Is it something that they're feeling in their physical body? Because you are going to be processing things in all of these ways and even more, and the way they interact with one another. So just kind of a few things physically. Lots and lots of people talk about how their bones actually ache. They talk about having digestive problems, or look at how many people have been sick this year with the physical flu. That's another way of just detoxifying your body. You get really sick, you kind of get rid of all those old germs, you detoxify your body, and then when you come out at the end of that, you're in a new place. You may not like it, you may not have, you said, well, let me find another way to do it, don't give me the flu again. I was even sick. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I was even sick this year, around the first of the year for about 2 weeks. So it to me, that's why what Catherine had such a great perspective, because it says it doesn't matter where you are or how evolved you are or anything like that. You're still human. You're still living in this life. You're still going to be having experiences just like everybody else. The key to me that I can say is a difference, and I see it for myself and everyone I work with. When you are more aligned with your divinity and with your higher self, something that may have put you into turmoil that lasted weeks or days or months may now move through you in minutes, hours, or, a day or so. And have you noticed that too, Catherine, for yourself?
And because once you are aware, it seems like that's the thing. It's like trying to catch your attention. Like, for instance, a cold. Now, I haven't had a cold in years, but when I feel like there's a cold coming, I recognize right away that there's a sadness in me that if I just would recognize the sadness, there's some sorrow, and it may be my sorrow, it might be something I'm picking up from the collective, like the people around me. It might not be my own, but if I'm feeling a cold coming on, I immediately now, instead of saying, I'm getting a cold, I say, I wonder what that sadness is about. I feel it. And as soon as I bring my awareness to it, it doesn't become the full cold.
Exactly.
So I think
I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a great example of that. And I don't need to have the experience of a tree limb falling on my house and all the trauma that goes through that. It caught my eye, it caught my attention, but it was,
we still notice things.
Right,
we still notice
exactly.
it, but we don't have to experience the full dramatic aspects of it. I think that's where the choice part of it, right?
And that's exactly right, because also when you begin to become more aware of your physical body, your emotions, and your thoughts, as you begin to pay attention to what that means, then you may also begin to pay attention, do I really tend to be negative about things? Do I maybe expect the worst because the world has shown me that life is not very good, that life is really pretty much a pain, and that life is just a struggle and then you die? I literally have heard people say that. I have heard people say that. And absolutely, if that is your belief, that is going to be your experience. But if that has been your belief and you don't want that belief anymore, you can change it. You can change your thoughts. You can change your way of reacting. You can change your emotions. You can even change your physical body. You can change every level of your consciousness by becoming aware. Yeah. So maybe how to become aware, or when do you become aware? For everybody, it's different. There's a lot of people that may go through their entire life and they're never aware in the way that we're talking about, and that's okay. They have a great life. Everything goes well. They have what they want, and that is just their experience that they want in that lifetime. But life does not have to be about learning lessons through pain and suffering. Mm-hmm. That's been a belief system that people have had in the past, but I don't think it has to be that way. I don't think it has to be a reality.
And that's an important point too, is that because sometimes people say, well, how come some people don't seem to experience, their lives seem so rosy? And that could just be that we've all had many lifetimes. That's sort of a part of the foundation, that acceptance that I'm saying here. We kind of know now, okay, we all have a lot of lifetimes. So, and most of us on the planet now have had many. But I imagine there are some people that have this is their first time. But for the most part, it could be that they have chosen, this is the lifetime they wanted to come and not experience any like struggly type lessons. Right. They just really wanted to have a lifetime that was easy breezy and that's it. So there's no judgment about that. It's just,
exactly.
and they have no interest in, like I am passionate and have an insatiable appetite for learning more. Like, it's like, I'm sure that God or the universe or the angels must look at me sometimes and say, is she never satisfied? Because every time they answer a question or something's revealed, I go, and more? And it's like,
so what's the next step?
Yeah. Okay, let's move on, and it's like, can you not just sit in that? Which is my thing, just wait. And I'm not that patient. So, but I wanted to make that point because it's not about, we hear that sometimes people say, oh, we need to wake everyone up. Everybody needs to be awake. And it's like, why is that your job? Why do you think that you have to go around waking people up? Just take care of yourself. Do your own stuff.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And recognize it. I would say that exactly what you're just talking about, way back in the early 90s, which is when I started going through this process for myself, I remember getting these snippets of, you're going to be talking to lots of people, you're going to be doing all these things. And immediately I shut myself down because I said, oh my gosh, if I go this route, I'm going to have to save the world. So as I do it, yeah. I was immediately taking on a burden of saving the world. I didn't want to do that. And so therefore I quit. I slowed down my personal growth until I got to the point where I realized I don't have to save the world. It's not up to any one person to save the world. But by each person being in their state of balance and each person beginning to recognize where their joy comes from and listening inside of themselves and living their life from a place that is based in their heart center, in love, in joy, in whatever it may be, that's what creates the change that ultimately will bring peace on earth and that kind of contentment. Yeah. And I believe that 100%. And I could always hear some of them, friends and family, like, oh, that's not going to happen. How do you think that could happen? And so that's okay. I'm not trying to change anybody's belief. I'm just stating that this is my belief, and this is how I think that there will be long-lasting, permanent change upon the earth.
Yeah, people do get caught up in, and you see this now too. I mean, as we're seeing this. There's been people working on this path for like 20 years. Some people working on it since the day they were born. And then we have other people who just started to look at stuff and see what's going on in the world. First time they've ever really paid attention to politics because now it's affecting their food, or they, want to buy something and they can't, and they find, oh, there's a law about this and a law. These kinds of things, like all of a sudden it hits you, and a lot of people kind of go into like, where have I been? All this stuff has been hidden. And I actually would say this, most of what's been going on the planet hasn't been hidden. It's just that most of us have been so busy doing other things we haven't noticed. So now it's coming up, it's in the news, and two people can read the same newspaper and one person can be going like, my God, the newspaper's full of terrible things. And another person says, did you see this great article here, this positive, so it's there. And I think it's just important to notice that we really do, like Shelly says, we have to just take care of ourselves. Because when we take care of, and it's not selfish, when we take care of ourselves, we will change our world, because we change, very well, everybody knows, if you're watching this, you know this. If you walk into a room and you're happy, you will affect the rest of the people. If you're in a room and someone walks in and they're happy, it will change the energy if the other people weren't, or vice versa. So that's why I think it's so important just to focus on doing your best, being your best. You don't have to save the world. Nobody is expecting that. Just do your own stuff, right?
Exactly. I couldn't say it better. And let's talk, at the beginning we talked about when it's selfish versus healthy. for people to do this. And I think it's really important because, not to go too detailed into it, but we have our alignment to ourself. That's our divinity. Our divinity is our soul. It's that core essence of who we are that we brought forth for us in this lifetime. And this is what's unique to all the billions of people that live upon the earth. There's each that one soul essence in each one of us. And that's our divinity. So when I speak of filling up yourself and being in alignment with yourself, this is what I'm talking about, being in alignment with. We all also have our ego or our personality. That's our human aspect of ourself, which is controlling the mind and our emotions and processing our emotions and our physical body and all of the reactions that we are having. Mm-hmm. So when we talked about balance earlier, you cannot be all divinity and no ego, because you would not be physically alive. You would be dead. Right. You cannot, and at the same token, how many people, when you think about it, do you know where they're all in their ego, meaning their personality, meaning everything that they know from this life experience, and their divinity is maybe something dangling out in the background. So what I'm talking about here is trying to find that balance within your life. Yeah. That balance that allows you to be the best person that you can possibly be. And if you have someone that says, well, that's all based in ego, and they're saying, well, I just need this me time. I just need to, with the intention that everybody else cater to them and do everything for them, that's when you're finding someone that is based in ego. Mm-hmm. When you have someone that says, I need to re-nurture myself, and I'm happy to come back to this conversation, and to me, the one exception is when you have small children, that are dependent on you. They can't take care of themselves. Yeah. But anyway, so most everything else in your life, when you need to say, I just need 5-10 minutes or something like that, whether it's taking a bath, taking a nap, meditating, exercising, just whatever it is, any time that you can take to really feel that flow of your love of divinity, that's the way that you can nurture. That's the way that you can support yourself. And then when you get caught up in all those things that have to do with your personality and being human and being upon the earth, that's what I'm talking about, being filled up so that you have a better perspective or something that comes from balance. And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, you make a good point. It's not about like some people do, I'm going to look after myself now, and so you're going to wait on me and you're going to do this. That's actually the furthest from it. It is actually just where you are saying, I don't need you to wait on me. I might need you to look after the small children while I go and take a 10-minute walk by myself, or I might, something like that. But that's not the same thing, because when you're really getting centered, it's not about having people do stuff for you. It's about you feeding yourself. So that's good.
And I agree. Thank you for recognizing that. And I think this is where society is on that brink of trying to decide what it is, because it's okay. I always laugh because I say, okay, I'm really going to try not to get too out there or too esoteric, but I can't help myself.
Listen, Shelly, you're channeling a lot of light beings. How can you not? I mean, this is the reality. Here's the thing. We're trying to create an energy here that helps people who are just starting to look at this path. But the reality is, Shelly's on the path, and this is what Shelly does. So, you know what? Bring it on, Shelly.
Well, thank you. So, there is a collective consciousness that is of the earth. I know she's laughing because I said, I'm not going to go into that this time. But I did.
She did say that. Go ahead.
But you see, we have to. And the reason that I feel that this is so important for us to talk about this is because every single one of us that's alive, we emanate, we put out an energy. And words like energy and feeling the energy of something, I think is pretty common now. Everybody can pick up and understand what that means to them. Well, all of that energy goes into, if you want to think of it as this big, humongous bubble that kind of surrounds people, and it surrounds the individual, and then it becomes something that's a part of every single person on the earth. Right. And so if you want to just call the bubble or whatever the collective consciousness, this is what is made up of all of the thoughts, the actions, the energy that emanates from people. And when you think about the earth, you have all those that are caught up in warfare, that might be caught up in manipulation, things that you don't really, that some people might call evil or some people might call negative energies. It's a reality. It's there. And then you have all the other people that are focusing upon the joy, the happiness. That doesn't mean they don't have times when they get off balance and they have struggle in their life, but it's how are they reacting to that struggle? How are they choosing to have that experience for themselves? And so this is what I'm speaking of. All of this is going up into this collective consciousness. So then you have people, you have everybody, people that are opening up, people that are already aware of how they're opening up. And they just know that some days I just feel like crap. I woke up feeling great, but I came home feeling like crap. Well, this is how you are being influenced by this non-physical energy that's part of the collective consciousness, or maybe just part of the consciousness of the people at your job, or it can be any number of different things. And so I think that people are very, very sensitive to energies, and until you begin to really understand how is it affecting you, meaning, do you feel things? Do you hear things? Do you, is it just the emotional onslaught? Those types of things are what can help you to begin to find the balance within your life. And then when you recognize that I'm feeling bad today, there's really nothing bad going on in my life, so maybe it's something outside of me, you could just take a deep breath. Whew. It's as if you just send it out. And even with that, just whatever it was that was there, I could feel it in my body. Personally, I feel it in my physical body. I feel it in my emotions. I feel it like going through every part of me. So this is how you're disconnecting from the collective consciousness. You're disconnecting from the intention or the junk that somebody else may be going through in their life, but yet I'm still here. I'm still physical. I'm still talking to the people around me. I'm still interacting with people in my life. And I think this is what it is for everybody.
And this is a good point for people who are just beginning to be aware. Maybe they've been having a pattern of waking up in the morning and saying, you know what, it's a beautiful day and I'm going to enjoy this day. And then they go out, they go to work, they go shopping mall, they go wherever. And as they're progressing along, they're getting tired and feeling awful. And by the time they get home, they're actually really crabby and they don't know why. And it's a simple thing as being aware that for me, I do it as a daily practice. I'm constantly clearing my energy field of any energy that's not my own and not from the highest and best of creation, so that it's now become a habit, so that just flush it off. Like you wash your hands, you come in the house, you've been touching all this public stuff, wash your hands, and at the same time say something like that. You'd be amazed at how quickly something like that can change your life, because you're not weighed down, and you're not, it's like keeping your shoes on when you come in the house and you've been all over, you take your shoes off at the door if you don't want to track that all through the house. It's the same idea, because if you don't, you're transferring all that negative energy to your family, to your other interactions in the evening and whatever, right? So I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's a very simple thing that whether you're aware of the rest of it or not, you might be aware of that.
Exactly. And another thing that people talk about, or that we've told people, is almost like you're taking off a jacket, maybe a jacket with a hat on it and everything. So it's like you're just peeling it off and you're taking it off and you're just going to send it out somewhere. So you can do it through your breathing. You can do it through kind of consciously taking off a jacket. You can do it through just the intention. I'm gonna walk through this door, or when I get in my car at the end of the day, as I'm driving home, the wind blowing through past my car is just gonna clear everything out. There are so many different ways that you can do it, but another thing that's coming to my awareness as we're talking about this is, how many times have you heard about people on a spiritual path quitting their job and waiting for life to support them? This has happened on so many different levels, and I knew a lot of people, especially in the late 90s when I was going through all this, that they would just quit their job and then wait, and then they'd have huge things going on in their life, which was, of course, their plan for their life. They experienced it that way. But for me, I was a single parent, and I could never do that. So instead, I said, well, I'm just going to make my job work for me. And in doing so, I have manifested a wonderful job. I really love the people I work with. It's got the hours that I love to work. I've got management that just is great. And so this is how I was able to then say, okay, certain things cannot be changed in my life. And if I'm going to be there, how can I make it work for me? And I think this is a very key thing for people to also understand, is that when you are going through transition and you begin to think differently about your life, or you begin to think differently about your priorities, then take the time to recognize, what can I change? What is that I cannot change no matter what? Perhaps you've been in a long relationship, and okay, I'm going to still be in this relationship. It's not going anywhere, but we have to get happier with one another. We have to do things. So work, relationships, so many different things in life. And if you begin with that one thing that seems to be affecting you the most, and say, okay, this is what I'm not going to change in this. Therefore, how can I change my way of thinking about it, my way of talking to the individual, my way of talking to the people around me, and you will be amazed at the change that will take place.
Well, I think that you're bringing up a really good point, that often people think they have to choose between spirituality or a higher awareness and what they've been doing, whatever it is. They think, oh, that's too mundane, or I can't work in the corporate world anymore because now I see what they've been doing, these bad guys, And actually, it's the exact opposite. If you take a new attitude to your job in the corporate world, you might have a huge influence, even though it might be a tiny little thing you do, that could change the corporate world. So this is where I've, really felt like in the 60s, a lot of people went away and joined, communes and things because they get out of the world and they denounced all material things and whatever. And
structure.
That never made a lot of sense to me, because I'm thinking, we're here to experience planet Earth. Planet Earth requires, because we have physical bodies, we need material things. Now, how much of it, do we need is another story. But I think that we are meant to experience joy and have pleasure and enjoy the material creations, because that's what physical is. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But if we could just learn to find, like you're talking about in the first place, that balancing these different parts of ourselves. And I wanted to ask you to also, I know you help people, like if somebody was starting to say, well, yeah, okay, but I got stuff going on in my body and I don't understand it. Are there some things that you specifically would say are sort of ascension symptoms kind of thing? And I know you have meditation CDs and things like that. Do you want to talk about some tools that you have to help people with this? I'll give you one small example of something that I'm very aware of, phenomena in my life that happens and has happened to me on my journey. But one thing, I'm kind of a literal person in a lot of ways, and I'd be meditating, and this started when I first started to meditate, and my stomach would start gurgling, and it would just be gurgling like crazy, and I'd be like, what is going on? And then I realized that I use the expression, I'll have to process that, or I'll have to digest that, or I'm going to take that and I'll think about that and I'll process it. And so I was digesting my thoughts and my whatever. So of course my stomach would be doing the rumbling, because it was actually literally processing and digesting. So I get when you said about people have digestive things. Makes sense to me. It depends on how you talk to yourself. So that's just one example. But
well, actually, the digestive is one of the main. So many people may already know about the energy bodies, but for those that do not, and this is something that you can go look up, is your chakra system. And so there are energy bodies that start at the top of the head, the third eye, the back of your throat, and the back of your skull, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral, your root center. And it's like these main energy centers are what link that line of your divinity, that energy of your divinity, And so they go to various parts of your body. They're linked with your emotions, they're linked with your mental. So it's like within your physical body, it's a non-physical part of you that is having an effect upon you. Your solar plexus is right here, and how many people talk about their gut feeling? So a lot of things come in through your solar plexus, and most people, especially those that don't pay attention to things, can oftentimes be very, very sensitive and can hold things in their solar plexus. So as someone is beginning to open up and they're beginning to be aware of things, then that energy center, sometimes as I've worked with people, it's like it spins, and I've seen it just kind of barely moving, just kind of really tight down. So then as you begin to open that up by working on the energy and clearing it out, then that can, so in other words, thinking of that as constipation versus something overflowing. You're inundated with too much energy, you're taking on too many things, can lead to diarrhea, just to kind of show you the two sides of that. The gurgling that you have was literally working with that energy body opening up. So if you think about that, that's in your digestive tract. And how many people with their heart center, the fifth dimension, which is where our reality is being based now, is based in the heart center. So as people's hearts are opening up, it's about opening to love, to compassion, to awareness, to all the various things that have to do with your heart center. But that also is associated with your respiratory. So how many people have coughs, have respiratory congestion, have asthma, have things like that going on? So you can see the correlation to these energy bodies and the physical symptoms that you may be having.
Yeah. And sometimes, that's just a few of them. There's lots of things you can be. I'm going to mention a few, and then you can just sort of add to that, because these are right at, when you start to explore the world with a new awareness. I found like difference in temperature. My body would go from really hot to really cold in no time, or be really, really cold and I couldn't get warm. It was like the cold was coming from inside. It was almost like radiating cold off of me. Or, even diet. Sometimes you want certain foods you're craving, and then other times you're not. And of course, water. That's a big thing. Whenever if you're going to do energy work, you're going to clear whatever, you've got to drink a lot of water to help flush that out. I'm just thinking of some other things that can happen. Oh, deja vu, or having those moments where you see, sometimes you see little flickers in the room, or light bulbs flickering, or that's changes in energy, right?
Correct. That is all energy. Everything in the world is based in energy. We are the trees, the flowers, the earth, the animals, the thing. Everything is based in energy, and that energy is here, and it can be shifted, and it can be transitioned. And for long time, people in physics thought there is only the set energy that's here. There's nothing more. There's nothing less. Well, to me, that's something that's transitioning, because as we move into these higher, lighter dimensions, we are actually bringing in a higher vibration through the crystalline energy. And so has it always been here? Perhaps so, in a dimension that we didn't know, but it's like a door has been opened that is allowing the crystalline vibration to come in. And the way that that's manifesting is that it's creating things. It's almost as if it gives us more opportunity. And when you think of the old energy as being like in one line, and that line may go in, multitude of different directions, but it has to go from point A to point B. Whereas the crystalline energy can kind of go in every direction all at the same time. It's just one way of kind of describing the two differences. The crystalline vibration is something that is aligned with our DNA. It's aligned with the dimensions. So you hear about expanding DNA. Mm-hmm. People talk about, we thought there were only two, or I can't even remember what the mindset is of humanity, but it's like, oh wow, we've got 12 strands instead of 2 strands or something like that. Yeah. Well, the truth be known, there's probably more like 144 strands. There's way more to our DNA than what people realize. And this is just coming out because of that shift in dimension and the shift in the crystalline vibration. And so as that DNA gets integrated, and this, I'm talking about it as like the non-physical, because if the scientists look at the microscope, they're beginning. I read an article recently where they said, "Oh, we saw this in the DNA," and I was like, "Haha, of course." So it's going to begin to become more common knowledge, but for right now, the majority of this are things that are seen energetically, meaning not always with the physical eye, but with the inner eye or with the inner senses, or with those higher vibrational senses. And what we see now is the precursor to what it's going to be in the future. So as that's changing our DNA is in our bloodstream. It's the foundation of our bloodstream. So you can imagine that as that's shifting, in these higher vibrational DNAs, you don't always necessarily have to have the same physical symptoms you were having before. People that have these chronic physical problems that are going on, it may be that in the future, you don't need to have that, or you may have it differently, or it will manifest differently. So it's limitless, the potentials that are coming up for people, and what every person, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what you are doing, in whether you want to call it the ascension process or just in living your life. If you are curious, if you think that there's changes going on, if you're wondering where am I going to go from here, or what do I want to do from here, then that's kind of sort of where you begin. You begin to realize, how are my emotions changing, my thoughts changing, what am I noticing around me, and then what am I going to do about all this? And as you do so, you begin to see things falling into a pattern or into a particular way.
And I think it's really, as you know, because I remember this sense of something was happening to me. One of my first experiences, I was doing a meditation with a CD, and I had this out-of-body experience that was just like, it happened like whoosh, and my heart was racing, excuse me, and I felt like something was happening to me that I was not in control of, and I think that, and of course now I understand a lot more that it was something that I chose to do. I wanted to have that experience. But I think that this is where the work you do, and others, that are doing this kind of work of energy work and recognizing the bodies, is really key for people who are starting to, like you say, awaken or look around and see, okay, the first thing that usually happens when you look around is you see that there's this, I'm going to call it negative energy for lack of a better word, because that's the first thing that seems to hit you. It's like, what happened to my planet? What's going on in this world is terrible. And what you feel generally, I'm speaking for myself in particular, but is powerless. You feel like, oh my goodness, this is so big, and like you said, how am I going to save the planet? And then there's this place where you go, don't other people realize this? Am I the only one who knows? And you feel this sort of sense of urgency and panic sometimes, and powerlessness. And I think that the tools that are available, because of people that have already done their work, like you, Shelly, give you back your power. That's where you find out, by knowing this, knowing your emotional body, knowing your awareness will affect you, and having the tools to deal with it. It's not that everything changes. People that are going to do bad things, or what we call bad things, are still going to do them. It's just that we are going to have a different awareness of that. So can you talk about some of the tools maybe, or what's available?
I think I think that's a great way of describing it. I think there's even that book written about a Buddhist monk or something like that. Before Ascension, I dug in the dirt. After what's the name of that book? Anyway,
I don't know, but I know the saying is before Ascension, chop wood, carry water. After Ascension, chop wood, carry water.
Chop wood, carry water. Exactly. And that's exactly it. And what they're talking about in that is that you're still going to be living your daily life. You're still going to be having everything it is. But how can you find a way that's going to help you feel better? And that is that alignment with your divinity. And that is learning how to disconnect from other people's energies and emotions that may be affecting you that are not your own. And it may be, and people are saying, but I feel so bad for them, or I have such compassion. Compassion is a fantastic, a beautiful tool, but consider it this way. If you, it may sound kind of odd, but if you can kind of disconnect from the emotion of a situation and then still send in the compassion and awareness, what you're doing is you're getting out of that ego personality part of the compassion, and you're getting into the divinity part of the compassion, and it's much more powerful. You feel better, and it's better for the situation. It will create better potential for the situation. So the things that people can do, I think meditation is a great thing. I think they're learning. I like you said, I have a lot of different meditation CDs. I'm just finishing one, Opening to Your Higher Self, which is that it's kind of got real simple, basic tools to help you open. So if you've never done it before, it's very helpful. If you've been meditating for years, I have a friend of mine I gave it to, just trying it out, and she's been doing this for 10 or 15 years, and she says, I just love it. It just helps me feel really good as I start my day.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are in your personal growth, if you find something that it just feels good, you just like the energy of it, being in that energy is working on you in ways that you don't even need to worry about, and it's going to create a change that will help to strengthen and empower you. Another one that I have is about your light body and about those chakras that I mentioned. Another one is soul communication. The more that you begin to work with someone is like when you are in that place of meditating and you open up your heart and you think about, say, a loved one or someone at work, and you just want to have a conversation with them. And I'm not talking again about that something that's based in your thought, in your mental, your ego, or your personality, but based from a place of unconditional love and awareness, and you begin to have a conversation from them at that level, amazing things can take place, because sometimes you can hear what they're saying that you don't hear on your human level because you're all caught up in the drama of what's going on. Yeah. Sometimes you can tell them something that they don't hear for that same reason. And in fact, just last night we did a really intense workshop with that, and she said she got off the phone with me. Half an hour later, she was doing Skype with two different people, and it was almost as if some of the things that were said in that came out in the Skype. Wow. So it can be that powerful. And again, we're not controlling anybody. You're not doing anything. It's all about free will, and it's about inviting to create a change and to create a shift. So these are some of the tools that people can use in their everyday life as they're seeking to find some answers. The other thing that I think is really important is I laugh about all the nouns that have become verbs. Journaling is something that many people find very effective, as you begin to just jot down the things that are either on your mind a lot or the things that you seem to be stuck about. And just doing it as a means of helping you to kind of organize your thoughts. And when you journal about something, if you're in something, say, that's really weighing on your mind, or something that just is very frustrating to you, it can be effective to write about it, to speak about it, to kind of get it out there, to express about it. But then if you come back around again and say, this just really stinks, and then you come back around again, it still stinks, it's going to stink, it's always stinking, it's not. You see, that's when you find yourself in a rut that's keeping you in that vibration of it stinks. So it's important to acknowledge the things that are bothering you and the problems, but it's also important to recognize how you're not going to create a change from within the problem. You have to either move to a new perspective, or you have to move in a new direction and then look back at that problem again, and that's how you create the change.
Yeah, that I think journaling is an awesome tool. And the other thing too is I would recommend to people is you have been doing your free channelings that people can go to twice a month, and they're on Shelly's YouTube channel. So if people want to sort of explore in the the different go through this different stages and see where it's at. I wouldn't recommend starting with the last one, although if you want to, go ahead. But you have so many. The reason I say that is just wherever you're at, just follow that guidance, your own intuition, where to get yourself more aware. And also, when you get saturated, give it a break and don't.
Right.
But also, you offer telecourses. You're doing one on past life tonight. Yeah, so this is probably not going to air until after that. But I'm very excited about that, and I'm so that I'm going to take this course because this is one place where I've never gone. I've had people tell me about, you had a past life like this or you had a past life, but I've never really gone there myself. And so I'm really curious because I know that, a lot of people think of past life, they think about people that have talked about, oh, I had a past life and I was King Tut, or I had a past life and I was Lady Godiva, or whatever it was. Most past lives, we weren't people like that. But I think what you're talking about, or what I'm getting, is that, well, first of all, there is no time. So past life, future life, they're all happening at the same time. So other lifetimes. But if I learned something in another lifetime, then it belongs to me. It's something I've already learned. I don't have to learn it again every lifetime. So that's, to me, is the reason why I want to do it, because I'm thinking, and I've felt this way for a long time, that there's stuff inside me that I know, and I so know it, but I can't put my fingers on it. I can't quite access it. And that's why I think this is just one of Shelly's amazing courses that she's offering. And that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit.
Well, there are, if you go and look at my website, I literally have 10 years worth of twice a month channels on there. So like she said, there is a lot of stuff. And I also have worked with the dolphins, and that is on there. Language of creation are kind of a different words or phrases that have energy behind it. So there is a lot of different stuff that you may find on my website. And all of it is about assisting people to empower them, assisting people in finding that truth that's within them, assisting people in finding what really resonates within them and becoming in touch with what that is, whatever that is. And that's my goal in all that I teach, in all that I channel, in all that I do, because number one, it feels good. I was noticing, we're watching the Olympics right now because they're on, and how many of the athletes, when they talk about it afterwards, I just had fun. It just felt good. Yeah. That is the foundation for everything, because when you're in a space of having fun or doing something that feels good, you're in the vibrational alignment of what's in your best interest. If you find yourself doing something and you come out of it feeling and pulled down and worn down, it's probably not in your best interest to do it. And that could be, going back to those tools. Does it feel good? Does it not feel good? Yeah, exactly. Could be a very simple tool in helping you to discern, is this something in my best interest?
Right. And you can, everyone who's watching who wants to go to www.goddesslight.net. And that's Shelly's website. And I'll put the link right on the screen, but just to let you know. And also to say that along with the telecourses and listening to the channels and whatever, you can do a private session. And I've done several sessions with Shelly, and it's always been fun. And I love it because you can actually, you don't know. Sometimes people don't know. It's like, I'm at this place in my life and I'm stuck. And I don't know why. And then, through Shelly's work with the angels and the goddess light and all that kind of stuff, you're able to actually see, like you were talking about the gut thing. And I thought, how many people say, I have a knot in my stomach? Well, you can just imagine your intestines being like that, right? And so that's the kind of thing that you can help to alleviate. So release. Yeah. So is there anything else, Shelly, that you or any of your group wanted to share before we conclude today? Because I think we've shared a lot of fun insights.
Yeah. In kind of a last message that I want to give to people is, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what, if you're in a place of joy and you're looking for more joy, then look around and recognize that our world is just amazing. There are amazing things that are going on. We see it again and again and again. And be aware that's there, it's having an effect, and it's empowering things. And when you come across things that really upset you or really, that you might think of in terms of like negativity or something. And if it's something that, okay, this is coming to my awareness, I have to do something about it, then by all means, follow your heart, do whatever you need to do about it. But remember, do it from that space that is based in your love and in your divinity, because that's what's going to be even more effective than just kind of getting in and digging around. Because when you have a whole group of people then digging around in the earth, it's getting even deeper. So you each one individual can have an amazing impact upon themselves, upon the people in their immediate surroundings, and upon the world as a whole. And look towards how you can have balance within your life. Look towards how you can bring in more of your divinity and let that be the foundation for how you live your life, because that's how you will find joy, how you will find prosperity, how you will find all these many things that you are seeking to have. Mm-hmm. It's there, open.
I love that. And, that's the whole thing. And I appreciate so much, Shelly, you actually coming to that awareness that this was something, it was timely, because we've been doing this work for a long time, and sometimes people, it's like walking into the middle of a party, everybody else seems to know the language, and I mean, I admit that back a few years ago, I totally was blown away when somebody said, "Does that resonate with you?" And I was like, resonate with me? Who talks like that? And now you hear it everywhere. And some people mean it. They really know what they're saying. And some people, they just say it because it sounds good. And so I just, I thought, oh, wow, this is perfect to be able to have this awareness to share this for people who are, wherever you are in your path. And I hope that everyone watching today is going to get something out of this this information that will benefit you. And like I said, go back and listen to the previous shows. I invite you to take a look at that, and because who knows, wherever you are in your path, it'll be perfect for you.
Yes. Well, and I think that, the last thing, going along with that balance and finding that is recognizing that you are exactly where you need to be right now. And even if you don't know the big reason for it, or even if you're frustrated with wherever that may be, recognize that it is what it is. Okay, so now I'm going to make changes in my thoughts. Now I'm going to make changes. And sometimes it's not just about creating it through your intention and your energy and stuff like that. Sometimes it means if you're going to get that job, you really do have to literally walk out the door and walk down the street and do something. So it's about being proactive, but knowing that the foundation of where you're being proactive from is that which is in the vibrational alignment that you want to be. And I realize this, I'm saying all this, I'm into that talk again. But
it's perfect.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, and I think it's just perfect. You've got it's that balance. You have an awareness, but we are physical. So if you want that job, you actually have to make the application. You have to let them know you're there, because you're dealing with other humans. So nobody's coming to your door and saying, "Oh, I got a message from the universe. You want this job." That's not going to happen. Not in this dimension.
Well, it could happen, but but not very, very slight probability.
Yeah. Well, you increase your chances if you get off your couch and move out the door and prepare for it. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's the thing. There's an old saying, prior preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance. I think it's a military saying, but it's been around my family for a long time. So, and that's the truth. You do your part, and the universe does its, and we have balance. So thank you so much, Shelly, and thank you to all of you for joining us. And please share the links, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and go to the website, lgrcc.com. Until next time, take care.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wasn't that amazing? Thank you to my guests for sharing with us today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share the link. You can join us for live shows by going to letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com and listen to the replays from the show page, preview guests, and explore links to our Facebook fan page, WordPress blog, and more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.